Hello and welcome back to MsStoryMystery. Today I've got a set of stories that really make you think. These aren't your everyday tales. From strange happenings in a family home to downright bizarre events at a truck stop, these stories have left me and others scratching our heads. As someone who's always been a bit skeptical about ghosts and the like, these experiences have really given me pause. So, grab a seat, get comfy, and let's dive into these mysterious tales together. And hey, I'm eager to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Let's jump in. I'm not one to believe in ghosts, and many other people are just as skeptical as I am. But a few occasions made me wonder. I have a close family member who states she can see the dead. She describes it as visions where she would see deceased people roaming around. To believe you have a gift like that kind of freaks me out. I don't know what my mom was thinking, but for some reason, she asked her one day if she saw anything in our house. I wished she had said nothing, but she answered yes, but she was not clear on what it was. Fast forward to about 2 months later. My dad wakes up at 5 in the morning every day for work, while at 6 in the morning he wakes us up for school. But this specific morning, it wasn't him who woke us up. Police lights filled the air, followed by loud talking. Walking out of my room and down my hallway, I called for my dad. He answered and said to come to the living room. I found him standing with two police officers, writing down what my dad said. Scared, I asked him what was going on. After the police officers left, he explained to me the most bizarre story. He woke up to all the lights in the house turned on, as well as the TV in the living room. His first thought was that I woke up early and did it myself. But when he got to my room, I was sound asleep. Our entrance to the house is a door, but with a fence in front of it that needs a special key to be opened. When he got to the living room, the front door was wide open, but the fence was still shut. But you can't open the door from the outside by not unlocking the fence. But the weirdest thing was a pot of boiling water on our stove. I didn't even know how to use the stove at that time, so it could not have been me. My mom and dad swear it wasn't them. There were no signs of entry into the house. All the windows were locked from the inside, and we only had the one door. To this day, nothing makes sense about the situation, and this occurrence still freaks me out. I was about 4 to 5 years old when this happened. I remember having my own dog called Jessica, and I loved her. She would always lay by my side, and we would be together 24/7. She was a small Jack Russell, white with brown spots on her. She was not a very energetic dog, but we would always go for walks in my grandmother's garden, and I remember it so vividly. Well, to get back to the main story. It was about 2 weeks ago when I visited my grandparents for the holiday weekend, and everything was going amazing. It was Christmas night when I was helping my grandmother prepare dinner. It was getting pretty boring, so I started having a conversation with her. I don't remember how I got on the topic, but I told her how much I missed Jessica. She interrupted me by asking, "Who is that?" I reminded her that Jessica was the dog I had when I was a kid. She was white with brown spots, how we would do everything together, and how much I really missed her. My grandma was shocked and could barely get her words straight. She proceeded with the word, "How?" Confused, I asked her what she meant by that. She told me that I never had a dog named Jessica, and that she didn't understand how I would even know that name. "I don't understand," I said. She explained that I never had a dog named Jessica, but she did. She used to take her for walks in her garden. Jessica was also white with brown spots. Jessica was her dog when she was 4 years old. It still freaks me out to this day. I worked in the truck stop industry for about 15 years. The following stories all took place at the same location where I worked for less than 18 months. I had the opportunity to help open this brand new location. Since it came with a fat raise and a promotion, I definitely accepted. It has been about 5 years since the location opened. I don't believe there is a single employee left of the over 60 employees we hired prior to opening day. On opening day, not long after the ribbon cutting ceremony, a woman delivering flowers dropped the flowers on her sandaled foot. She sliced her foot open, bleeding all over the entrance. Within a week of being open, water and sewage came up all through the drains, including outside, all over the property. It had not been raining, so it wasn't like a flood situation weather-wise. We have no idea what caused it to suddenly happen. And, just as quickly as it happened, it went away. Plumbers were baffled. A few months after we opened, we faced a severe storm that destroyed the high-rise interstate sign and caused a 7-hour power outage. I had sent several people home, but I kept a couple of employees in case the power returned. We sat in the restaurant dining room, chatting under an electric lantern light. An employee who was a local resident and had lived in the town all of her life mentioned that people were a little worried when this place was announced to be built, because this property had been rumored to be a Native American burial ground for years. I have zero way to prove or disprove if this is accurate, but given the events getting more severe as time passed, it makes you wonder. When the power did come back, despite several steps I took, like unplugging all the equipment to make sure the surge wouldn't fry stuff, we lost several pieces of expensive equipment. Some of this equipment was critical and caused major operational problems for weeks until it could be replaced. The first winter after we opened was the coldest in years. It was so cold that we had to buy space heaters for the servers in the electrical room so they wouldn't freeze. We also had issues with frozen pipes, especially in the truck care center and the restaurant. 6 months after opening was the first death. A truck driver came in to shower in one of the shower rooms, and we had sensors on the door that let us know how long someone had been in there. If the timer had been going for a couple of hours, we would knock on the door to see if they'd actually left so we could clean it for the next driver. The employee knocked on a shower door that had been in use for a couple of hours, and there wasn't an answer. She used the key to open the door, and the driver was on the floor. He had died of a stroke. He had been driving a semi-truck 30 minutes before he entered that room. The employee who had opened the door was significantly traumatized. The company did a great job of offering support for her, but she didn't last much longer after that. A few weeks later was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I was working on the restaurant side of the truck stop as the restaurant manager had quit after a series of bad things that happened to her, and they asked me to move into the role temporarily. The assistant manager on the store side came over because the freakiest thing had just happened. She pulled me into the store side office and pulled up the cameras to show me what had happened. A small 4-door sedan pulls into the lot but doesn't pull into the gas station side. It pulls into the truck stop side, where the semi-trucks pull in. The driver parks next to the maintenance shed, which is adjacent to the main building and very close to a large trash compactor. He gets out of the vehicle, opens one of the doors, and pulls out a trash bag. He throws the trash bag on top of the compactor, then gets in his car and leaves the property. I don't remember how long, as she had fast-forwarded the footage, but he returned an hour or two later. He pulled back next to the compactor, climbed on top of it, and chucked another bag on the roof of the maintenance shed. He then climbed down off the compactor, got in his car, and left, never to return. This was when he was noticed by an employee who had been outside gathering trash to take to the compactor. The maintenance shed is more of a small building or garage. If the employee had not seen him throw it up there, it probably wouldn't have been noticed, as the building was as high as a one-story building. Once the employee saw the individual leave, he went into the shed, got a ladder, and went to get the bag on top of the shed's roof. He brought the bag inside the store to show the assistant manager. Inside the bag is a ton of paper. These documents list hundreds, thousands of addresses across the United States. Under each address is a specific hidden location where a body could be found on each property. There was no information on who the individuals were, just the gender and location of the individual on these properties. The location spanned from coast to coast, but I didn't get to look too deeply into them. I was freaked out, and I thought that touching them could contaminate something, so we just put what we had pulled out back into the bag. The obvious answer here was to call the police, so that is what happened next. Now, the thing about truck stops is that they are more often than not in remote locations along interstates for obvious reasons. The town this truck stop is located in has 3 police officers in total. It is a town with less than 1,000 people. So when I say the police chief showed up, it's because he was the highest ranking officer of 3 in the town. He hated us as truck stops bring crime, and suddenly he had a lot more work to do. He comes in, watches the footage, and looks in the bag. And the most frustrating thing here is that he was not concerned in the slightest. He asked what we wanted him to do about it. It was probably a prank, etc. He took the items with him, filled out a form for the request for the footage, and left. My hope here is that he at least forwarded this to the FBI. A couple of weeks after this, there was a body found of a bound, nude, and recently deceased man across the street at the dump. Because it was a dump, they had no idea where the individual had come from. Sometime in the following weeks was the second death on the property. It was a driver that had died in his truck. We had another severe storm somewhere in the middle of this, and the interstate high-rise was destroyed again. We had another weird incident involving abandoned things, but this one had a resolution. A driver came in to show us what someone had left. Ratchet straps and small children's clothing folded neatly beside a diesel pump. The combination of the items alarmed me, so I got on the camera system and called the police. Luckily, I found the truck that left the items, and I got the one amazing police officer in the town. This time, she did her job and followed up to tell me she had found the driver and called him. He had been transporting his kid in the truck during summer break, but now that it was over, she was back home with her mom. He wasn't going to see his kid for a while, so when cleaning out his truck, he had this clothing and some straps he didn't need and thought someone else could use the items. He didn't think about the combination of the two raising eyebrows, and he honestly was really grateful that somebody would be worried and follow up in case. A couple of months after the first year mark, the State Department of Transportation had to shut down the off-ramp to the interstate exit as it started to collapse, and they were worried that the overpass would collapse as well. We had nearly zero business for weeks as construction crews rebuilt the ramps and repaired the overpass. I was promoted to a general manager role during this time and moved to a different location. I kept in touch for a while, especially with my former boss and the assistant manager. The incidents continued. Two major incidents occurred a couple of months after I left, but I cannot remember which came first. One involved an individual who entered the building with a machete. He was aggressive. The employees were terrified. I wish I hadn't deleted it, but there is footage of state troopers coming in with AKs and drop-kicking the guy. Unsure where this person came from as he walked, and the location was 10 to 15 miles from the nearest town. The second was a customer who attacked a teenage cashier because the cashier didn't get the customer's lotto ticket correct. The customer got into a brawl with the maintenance guy who came to the kid's defense. Over time, I slowly lost touch with them, and they both left the location, so I stopped getting the stories. Haunted? Portal to hell? I don't know, but what I do know is I now avoid truck stops like the plague. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the mysterious and unexplained. I hope these stories have intrigued you as much as they have me. If you liked what you have heard, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more intriguing content. Remember, the world is full of mysteries, so stay curious. Until next time, take care and keep wondering. Goodbye.